we're gonna do something further that is out of norm, and ask, without sweeping across, but very quickly, if anyone has any questions for Senator Menendez, and specific to him, and then I'll go back and do the usual with Judy and Pat and Ed later. Elise, and then Nikita, and then Dave. Elise, hold on one sec. Martell, hello. Martell's got the mic.
Hi. Senator, can you give us an indication of how many of your Republican colleagues are willing to support this, and how many names do you intend to announce by week's end?
We hope to announce by the end of the week. I'm not going to announce for them, but I'll say that we have, in addition to Senator Cassidy, 2 to 3 more senators that have just about committed. They express they will be representative of a significant cross-section of the country, and one may not be so surprising, but the other one will be. And I think what happens, my experience in the Senate and in Congress is, once you begin to create a movement where others feel comfortable in joining, the numbers grow. You also saw independently, you saw Senator Collins, Senator Mitt Romney, Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, all last week on the Senate floor and in various comments say that the states need help. And so I take that to heart. That is a totally different tune than the majority leader has expressed, and when that many members of his own caucus begin to speak up, it makes a big difference. That, added with Governor Murphy's efforts with his Republican governors to speak up both at the White House and to the Congress, is, I think, incredibly important. And the last point I'll make, I think we're going to see a lot of momentum come out of the House of Representatives, where Speaker Pelosi is firmly committed to a very significant package for the states.
I would just make one other comment before we go. We'll go to Nikita and then Dave. We just, as I mentioned, got off a video call. Judy and Pat and I were part of the group that we do at least once a week. And one of the flare-ups, correct me if you heard this differently, that they are monitoring most carefully right now is in Texas. All right? And so that's a good example. You've got a Republican governor and 2 Republican senators. This virus does not know political boundaries, doesn't know boundaries at all, but it certainly doesn't know political boundaries, as an example. Please, Nikita.
Thank you, Governor. Senator, so I have a quick question, not directly related to what you said, but I know that 18 Republican state attorney generals have called for an investigation into China over what they allege is a cover-up of the spread of coronavirus in that country. As ranking member of the Foreign Relations Committee, do you have a view on that?
Well, look, there's no question that this virus began in China, although all the latest evidence suggests that its transmission here in the United States came from European visitors, who ultimately probably caught it by virtue of visits to their countries from those from China. For me, the problem with China is that they were not forthcoming at the very beginning. And in the potential of a pandemic, you need whatever country is facing that reality to quickly sound the alarms and to fully and openly and transparently give all the information that exists so people can prepare, governments can prepare. I think China failed miserably in that regard. Beyond that, the questions of whether or not there's allegations that this began in a lab versus in an open wet market, I have to be honest with you, from what I've seen, and even now the Secretary of State is backpedaling from those comments. I'm not sure that that is as important as dealing with what we're talking about here. How do we deal with this challenge now? How do we get almost universal testing? You know, I haven't been tested, and I'm asymptomatic. At some point, I'd like to get tested because I'd like to go hug my grandchildren, including the new one that was just born, that I have not even met, except through pictures. And that's true. I think it's true for a lot of people. So at the end of the day, you can only do that through some form of universal testing, and you need the resources to do that, and then the contact tracing that goes along with that. So I think that the sooner we get to that, the more important it is for us opening our economy and getting our lives back.
Amen. We'll do one more from Dave, and then if it's okay with you, Senator, we'll go back.
Absolutely.
Dave's over here, Martell. That's John, by the way. John, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, thanks. Senator, Governor Murphy has made it a point of creating a relationship with President Trump, it seems, and really try to let him know in any way that he could where he supports him. Do you feel this is an important component of trying to move your efforts forward? Have you reached out to the President? What would your message to the President be? Is there space for you to do something with him in a common effort kind of a situation?
Well, listen, I applaud the governor for putting New Jersey's interests first. He doesn't see this as a partisan issue. It should not be. And I appreciate the efforts he's made with the White House and with the President to attract resources for New Jersey, and he's done that successfully. And that's the way it should be. That's why I'm not making this a partisan piece of legislation. I've particularly withheld its introduction in order to get several other Republicans lined up. And I think that bipartisan approach, which we will see in the Senate and which we will see in the House, sends a strong message to the President and the administration that this is not a partisan view. And this is not about bailing out the blue states. This is not red or blue. This is red, white, and blue. And I think that our arguments will be made stronger by Republican governors and senators who are going to be seeing these realities. As I said to them last week when we returned to the Senate and got to engage some of them, I said, look, what you saw happening to us is coming your way. You have the opportunity of time and the benefit of what we've done to advantage yourself and your citizens. But we're all in this together. And then the last point I'd make as it relates to the President, I think the President, who is obviously very focused on the question of the economy, we generate 20% of GDP for the entire nation. You want to see the economy thrive, you got to make sure this region thrives, and you want to make sure that states in general thrive in order to create the employment, the tax revenues, and the consumer confidence that's necessary. I think we have common ground in that regard with the President to seek the type of solutions we want.
Amen. Amen. This is not politics, but this would go for anybody on either side of the aisle. I don't know how, if you're on the ballot this November, you want to see police, fire, educators, EMS, healthcare workers without a job, doubling the unemployment rate. I don't get that. I literally don't get that. But Senator, it's an honor to have you here. You're welcome. I know you've got to go at some point, but you're welcome, you and your fiancée. It's a blessing to have you both with us. We're going to get back to some other stuff and come and go as you please, and give them hell in Washington.
If I leave in the midst of it, it's not because I didn't like something you said.
Okay, that's a deal.